All right. Well, Sarah, thank you, first of all, for doing this exit interview. You have been an amazing client to work with. Just such joy. You know, you show up at all of our Q&As just ready to rock with information, with questions. And you've been really devoted, I think, in bringing the training and the learning to life in your own life. So I thought it would be fun if you could just share a couple of things. And maybe we could start with, let's start backwards and move, or let's start here where you're at, and then let's move backwards, I guess. So
okay.
Give us some outcomes. In other words, where is life changed for you? Where's the transformation? Where are you like, wow, like these are some tangible outcomes that you've experienced through working with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that's top of mind, because we were just joking about it today, is that I feel like I have gotten to a place in my life now where sometimes I sort of go, what do I do with this extra time? Because I was filling it with garbage. And so now that it's not full of garbage, or, you know, things that weren't helping me, you know, I do things like, especially now that the weather's nice, I put my daughter to bed at 7, and there was a day maybe 3 weeks ago where I turned to my husband and said, I'm going to go for a walk. I'll see you later. And I just went, put on a podcast, and I went for a walk for like 40 minutes. And I've started doing that more often, and, you know, trying to walk a little faster. So maybe I actually sweat a little bit, you know, but I mean, it's great. I just walk around my neighborhood and, you know, see what's happening and listen to my podcast. And, you know, previously I feel like there was a part of me that once my daughter went to sleep, it was sort of like the day was ending. And part of that's the winter, it gets dark, and you know, it's different when the summertime and spring when it's light out still at 7 o'clock. But there's still a good amount of time before I go to bed at 7. And I was sort of just filling it with either mindless things or working. And that's, I just feel much more like I'm able at any given moment to say, I think I need X, and understand better why I need it, and choose to do something that will help with that, and in a positive way. Granted, sometimes I need, you know, I think I want ice cream and I eat it, and then I kind of go, oh, like, my tummy hurts. I ate too much of that ice cream. But, you know, we all have a little 4-year-old inside of us when it comes to ice cream, I think.
Right. Who doesn't? I love it. Yeah. So basically what you're talking about, right, is that now that you are aware of what creates fulfillment in you and what creates this sense of calm and fulfillment and thriving, you're choosing those actions and those activities that really make you feel balanced and help you feel centered, and that you're enjoying your life, versus sort of, I think what we all do in the more traditional sense is we're trying to escape our life, right? Because our life isn't quite what we want it to be. So we're pounding down cookies in the kitchen, or we're, you know, binge watching Netflix, or we're going back to work because we feel this compulsion to get the emails done and stuff like that. And then we're wondering why we feel off balance and not centered. So that's a fantastic share. How is it that you've been able to control your workload, right? Because that was a big concern for you coming in. Like, you were tracking your hours and you were like, I'm starting to work way too much. And as someone who's at your level and you have a team and you've got some pretty big responsibilities, how are you now containing and controlling your career?
Yeah, I mean, I think what one of the things that I came into when this all started, and when I first met you, was, you know, part of me definitely thought, you know, maybe there's something about this job that isn't right for me. Maybe there's something about this company, what's going on. And I was looking externally for things to solve what I was feeling, which was this discontent and tiredness. And, but in my heart, I sort of felt like, I know that I haven't done all the work on me that I need to do to find a better place. And so I need to at least do that first. And then if I do all that work and I'm still here and I sort of go, I don't know if this job is right for me, then okay, fine. Then we can start looking at maybe I should work somewhere else. But ultimately, I think I felt like there was work I needed to do. And sure enough, when I was sort of sat down and used some of the skills that I've learned from this course to honestly just stop working extra hours. And then that was sort of like the first step, right? I just stopped doing it. And it was, you know, It was a process. There were moments that I, was heart palpitations or whatever you want to call it about not working at certain times. But ultimately, it all comes down to, for me, the core of it, I think, has really come back to proactively communicating, setting expectations, and sending a clear message to everybody about what it is that I can and can't do, and what it is that I bring to the table that is useful, effective, fantastic, whatever I am talking about at the time. And therefore, so I can do X, I'm not necessarily going to have time to do Y for you because this is the thing that you want me to do the most. I think, to be honest, what I have enjoyed most about that, because one of the things I love most about my job is supervising people, mentoring, and leading a team, is the ways that I have felt empowered to just be louder about how I am setting limits on things. I used to leave work at 5:30 every day to come home and relieve the nanny and see my kid for an hour before bedtime. And I would sort of say, oh, I'm heading out and I'll see you guys online later, probably if you need me, whatever, let me know if you need anything. And now I leave and I try to say it as loudly as possible, like, bye everybody, see you tomorrow, it's 5:30, I'm leaving. And to my team, and really say, I'm done for the day, and like, you can do this too. I'm setting an example. This is totally possible. And if you don't feel like it's possible for you, come talk to me. Let's figure it out. This is a way to live. And I feel like, a big part of how I want to lead for my team is leading by example. And so if I am eating my lunch at my desk, working long hours, sending emails at midnight, those kinds of things, and I'm setting an example to them that even if I say, do as I say and not as I do, I'm still setting an example that this is how we should be working. And so anyway, all this to go back to your initial question, which is how am I managing the workload now? A big part of it was just forcing myself to not allow it to expand time-wise into parts of my life as an arbitrary step. And then I was able to start working on the other tools I needed to make it less arbitrary and more organic, to say, over the course of my day, I'm focusing on the things that are important for today, for this week. I'm prioritizing appropriately. I'm communicating with anyone who needs to hear what I'm working on, what I do and don't have time to help them with. And then I also started really taking some pretty aggressive steps with my boss as well, to say, hey, this customer's frustrated, this customer's angry, they are angry because I don't have time for them. We need to take them off of my plate. This is not really my area of expertise anymore. I need to be leading this team. Other people should be doing this job. So that kind of stuff, it took a while for me to have the confidence to sort of say, that's not me failing at my job, that's me doing my job well, and saying, here's what you want me to do. This other thing is getting in the way and actually now making this customer unhappy because I don't have time to do it. So those kinds of things have been key, I think, for me in finding that balance.
Yeah, and that's such a brilliant share, because I think especially as women in the workforce, we just keep taking on more and more and more and more, because that's just sort of the societal norm, like spinning plates, we're working mothers, we have all this stuff, and we don't ever realize that when you learn to work, especially at this level, at this leadership level, it's not about doing more and more. It's about helping everyone succeed. And in that example, it's not a success for you to be burning out and upsetting a client and trying to do something that really doesn't create a success for your entire company. So being able to say, wait a minute, if I communicate this outward to my boss and I say, look, here's another option, I don't think this needs to be in my area of expertise anymore, that's a win for everybody. That's not you failing. And so again, with a lot of the work that we do on your own psychology, I think you adapted that so well, Sarah, to say, wait a minute, this isn't about me. That's, whatever fear I have, that's inside of me. The reality is this isn't a win for the company, and I need to come up with a winning solution for the company. And in that particular case, it was that client needed to go elsewhere. So
right. And I think also, as anyone, but me particularly, as I get higher in the hierarchy, whatever you want to call it, of the company, and you come closer to the executive team, you have a clearer picture sometimes of things like financial decisions and strategic planning, and recognizing that a big part of my job in leading a team is making sure that my team is speaking up when we don't have the resources to do things. Because if you're scaling at a rate that my company is scaling, and you don't understand that by adding X, Y, and Z, you're going to need this many other human resources to do that work, then you're sort of shooting yourself in the foot as a company, right? That we need to be transparent about how much the people we have really can do. And yes, fine, you can go crazy for 2 weeks, 2 months, maybe even a year to cram through all this work. But ultimately, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And if we set that expectation that we can do this all the time, this is the capacity that we have, then the company has an unrealistic expectation of what the company can do. So.
Yes, no, I think that's brilliant. So tell us, what was the motivation for you to invest in yourself, invest in really this personal development, right? Because when we're talking about, I mean, right now we're talking about like leadership, investing in your career, and that is a piece of it, but it's really investing in you. It's a personal development journey to get you where you want to be in your life. Why? You know, what brought you in?
Yeah, for me, hopefully this doesn't sound morbid, but you know, I I turned 40 and last year, and at the same time, a couple people who were close to me in different ways, of my generation and of my parents' generation, got very sick or died. And I had, over the course of the year, sort of leading up to turning 40, I had a lot of moments where I would sort of be in the shower or whatever and sort of going, am I living the life that I want to live? You know, I'm here, and I have vivid memory of you know, we've talked about it. My mom died in 2002, and like that for me is a clear marker in my life that, you know, pretty much every day of my life before that, even when I was having sort of, I don't know, boyfriend problems or whatever you want to call it that you have when you're in high school and college, I really felt like, gosh, I am just so lucky to have the life that I have. I love my life. I'm a lucky, blessed, you know, my life is great. And then my mom died, and I was like, well, that's really shitty. I could say that on your video, but that was horrible, and sucked. And it, you know, it's a clear marker, and I think that only recently have I become aware that yes, inevitably something like that happens in your life, and it changes you. You can't go back to being that person, but I am still, in my heart of hearts, the person that believes that I can and should be able to look at my life and say my life is amazing. I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed. I have a wonderful life, and I love living my life every day. And I wasn't necessarily feeling that way, and that felt clearly like that's me. There, you know, that's I married the husband I want. How could I possibly not want this like most amazing, cute kid that I have? She's awesome, and hilarious all the time. And so all of those things are amazing. I have this house that people come visit me in Brooklyn and are like, how do you have 3 bedrooms in Brooklyn? And I was like, oh, you know, I figured out a cool deal when I wasn't making a lot of money to get government subsidized housing. Woohoo! And you know, things like that. Like I have a house in a great spot, or apartment in a great spot, and I love my neighborhood. I like living in Brooklyn. Despite the fact that I'm a small town kid, all of these things. I have a job that's challenging, and I work with smart people, and the company's growing. I could keep going and going. There's all this. I can make the list. The list is great. I have all of the props, all of the tools to have a great life. So why was I not waking up every day being like, here comes another day. This is amazing. Not right. That every day, but you know, that I, even just having those quiet moments of saying, oh, today's a great day. And so again, that felt like that had to be me. And of course, other things can influence that. But I knew that nothing had happened in my life recently, like my mother dying, to make me feel like everything is shitty or horrible or life is not good. So I felt like, okay, what's going on here that I need to work on to figure out how to both shift my perspective and also shift the way that I am living my life, my strategies for my day-to-day, to have my life reflect the person that I want to be and the life that I want to live.
That's really powerful, Sarah. That's such a huge share, because that was what kind of created my journey too. I was like, everything on the outside is like ideal. Why am I not loving it? Right? Like, why am I not getting out of every bed, like you said, and go, woo. So that's huge. You know, this is your only life, you know, this is it. And so when you look back when you're 80, you want to be like, dang, I had an amazing life. So you knew that it was a personal journey, like you knew that it was inside. So for you to get here though, I mean, to invest in yourself at the level you invested in yourself was pretty significant, right? Like, I don't think anyone is just like sitting around going like, hey, I think today I'll just go invest in myself. So
Right.
was there anything else that really got you to that point? Because I think like you invested in this, and didn't your husband like get a motorcycle or something? Or what did you guys end up deciding?
No, he doesn't get a motorcycle. That was his joke though. My husband really wants to get a motorcycle, and I've told him that he's not allowed to get a motorcycle ever, because I want him to be alive and all in one piece. And we have a kid, and he's an actor, and he needs his body to do his job. So hey, no motorcycle. You want to do something else for a living, like sit at a desk? Then maybe we can talk about it, because then you can sit at a desk in a wheelchair, no problem. So
I love it.
But it is a recurring theme, and every now and then, one of his brothers has a motorcycle, and he'll sometimes, they live on the West Coast, but he has ridden on the motorcycle when he's visited or been out there. So when we talked about what it would take to invest in this course, I was lucky timing wise in that I had gotten a bonus at the end of the year from my company that gave me this sort of money that I hadn't really been thinking about that helped. But sort of joked, well, so then next time you get a bonus, does that mean that I get a motorcycle? I said no. So no, he didn't get a motorcycle, but we made the decision together, and it was, I think it was actually really helpful that when I made sure scheduling wise that he was available when you and I first talked, and I think you even talked to him for a little bit.
Yep.
And he, I don't know. I think in our relationship, he definitely really trusts me about myself, I guess, if that's the best way to put it. So when I said to him, like, this is something that I think I need, and I basically have never asked for anything. I mean, this is the most I've invested in myself other than anything ever, probably. So, because my parents paid for college, so I can't really for that. That would be but so I think he knew that it was not something I was sort of trying to do lightly, that I thought about it. He knew I was having the call. He knew why I was having the call to talk to you and what I was trying to accomplish. And so it wasn't a small decision, but I think also when I talked to my dad about it afterwards, my dad's a psychologist, and I was a little nervous actually, because I thought, is my dad going to think this is a good investment? Is he going to think like coaching is, I don't know, a joke or something? I don't know what he would think. And his response was basically like, great. Yeah, that's, it sounds exactly like what you should be doing. And I was like, okay, good. Phew, check the boxes.
That's awesome. Well, and I just want to say, I want to recognize you for that. Cause I remember when we first talked, you were like, well, maybe in the fall when my daughter is like, we don't have the private school or the daycare or the whatever was going on. And I said, I remember our conversation very clearly, because I was like, yeah, that normally doesn't work. That once we sort of kind of say, oh, I'll do it later, it just never comes back up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that really resonated with you, and you recognized that there was an opportunity right here to create change in your life, and you valued that, and you were like, all right, I'm going to figure out a way to make this happen. And so I want to recognize you for that, because that does kind of what it takes. If we're going to make a change inside, you kind of got to grab that opportunity and run with it. And you did. And I think go ahead. I was just saying that, and then you brought that energy into the program, because you were like, all right, what do I need to do? Like, I am all in, you were really you attacked it, which was one of the reasons you've also gotten such amazing results. And you're now sitting around going, I got an extra hour today. What should I do? Like, your biggest problem now is like what to do with your time. Like, that's a nice problem to have.
Right. No, it's true. And I think, you could definitely argue that the timing, wasn't great, but I think also, I felt like I was on a precipice of sorts, when we were having that conversation, like, do I jump off this cliff? Mm-hmm. And I felt like, I think for me particularly as well, because I am someone who has, I've had multiple times throughout my life as a kid, I used to have what my parents would call epiphanies. I do spend time on myself, whether I journal or, just sit and think, or in the shower. And so I knew that mentally I had been rolling over this stuff for like a year, where I'd sort of been going, okay, things aren't quite the way I want them to be. I've been trying hacks and tricks and trying different things to kind of tweak. And so at that point I was like, okay, I'm reaching out. This person is saying they can help me. I am, and I'm willing to invest. I'm someone who has spent money on therapy before. Like, I know that it's worth spending money on myself that way. And that was part of the thing that helped me make the decision in the moment too, was just, I felt like, sure, I could wait, but like, who's to say that I won't have something else in September that's sort of like, well, yeah, this is happening, but Annabelle's going through a lot of change right now. And so that's hard for her because all these things are, I don't know, there's always something, like how the hell did we even decide to have a kid in the first place? Right. I mean, nobody's ready for that. So
No. Right.
It's never a good time to have a kid.
You just got to have them. Exactly. Whoops. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Right?
So yeah. And I'm definitely glad I did. And there have been a number of things that have happened since the course that I just feel like I've appreciated more, or was just better prepared for, or, we were just talking about my jury duty experience today. And when I took that vacation sort of right at the end of the course, where I went to see my grandmother, who is, this also woman who's 93 and still gets her hair and nails done all the time. And I've just never been a makeup person. I don't honestly even always take that much care in what I'm wearing. And I feel like after this course, seeing her and sort of going, oh yeah, you know what, actually, like, taking the time to carefully craft what I'm wearing for the day is a part of how I show respect for myself and show myself that, like, I care about me and I care about how I look. And I just started, I think I mentioned to you, I just started rereading the Marie Kondo's Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, which is, I'm sure some people who watch this video have mixed feelings about that book, but I love that book.
Good for you.
And, I'm I tried to go through tidying my house a couple of years ago and didn't quite finish. So I'm refreshing myself, and it feels like I'm doing much the same thing of, her whole concept is this idea of finding that which sparks joy, which I feel like resonates a lot with all the things that we work on. And rather than focusing on what you're getting rid of, you're focusing on what you're embracing. And so for me, focusing on embracing, taking care of myself, embracing, thinking about how I look. I don't necessarily need to wear makeup because it's just not me, but I can, take time to maybe change my necklace each day, or, those little things that make me feel like I took a moment to say, I want to wear this today, or I want to look this way today, and not just these pants fit and this shirt fits and it doesn't have like a stain on it. So,
That's awesome. I love it. So any last words of advice? I mean, I think as women, we tend to, again, just sort of grin and bear it. Let's just get through. And, someday when our kids are grown, and I think one of the things that really was a motivator for you was your relationship with Annabelle and wanting to be the best mom you could be as far as showing up with energy. And I mean, you were doing a lot of that already, but I think the sacrifice was coming more afterwards. Like after she went to bed, you were shortcutting yourself. And it seemed like you sort of had fuzzy brain, you kept saying, I'm chasing all these shiny balls. And I just like, what's the priority in my life? And, I can't find time to work out. I can't find time to just like make it all fit together. So I think a lot of women feel that way. So any like last words of advice or someone who may be watching this and going, really, like, do I really need to like fix this? Because I think there's a sense of disbelief, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, if I, at the time, if I look at, I felt like the one thing that I was really doing well was my relationship with Annabelle. But I also recognized that I wasn't taking care of myself, and, there was something there. But I felt like I am dedicating as much time, like I had structured my life so that I could dedicate as much time and energy to my kid as possible. Almost to a fault, right? I wasn't necessarily going out with friends on the weekday evenings because I wanted to see her at bedtime, that kind of stuff. But still, I felt like, okay, I'm investing in this relationship and this is working. And I think in hindsight now, having done the course, I can see that, yes, I don't fault myself as a parent, like I was doing anything wrong, but I can see now that that I am a healthier, calmer, more balanced version of myself, that all of those things that I was doing are now just more fulfilling and are just richer. And so it's not just time that is good, it's time that is meaningful. I don't know if that makes sense, but so I feel more present in general. And so specifically in the time I'm spending with her, I am more present. I've always been able to be a little bit zen with my kid, where I'm sort of like, okay, I'm with you, so this is what I'm doing. And but now I feel more relaxed in that, where there's no part of my brain that's going, oh, but should I be thinking about something else? Right. Even though you are focused on your kid, like still, and I think, so for me, I think it feels like even the thing I thought was like the one thing that, well, I don't really need to fix this. Everything else might need some help, but this one thing, even that got better. So it just sort of feels like it's, there's no reason not to. Like if you, I feel like any person who's thinking about this enough to have a conversation and say, I need help, then you probably do. And that's cool. Like asking for help is good and healthy. And the more, and asking for this kind of significant, take a big leap help means that you'll be better at asking for help in the rest of your life as you move forward, you know, finding when you need it. So that for me was, I think, I don't know if that's helpful, but.
It is helpful. I love it. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing. Again, you've been an absolute pleasure to work with.
My pleasure.
So impressed with, you know, everything that you've transformed in your life. And I think like so many women who come into the program, it's not like your life is radically changed. It's become richer. It's become, you know, calmer. It's just become the life that brings you joy, so that now when you're getting out of bed, you're not just like racing around and trying to figure out what to do for the day. It's like very clear how you can best meet your needs and how you can just feel joy in each moment. And that's what it's all about. So I appreciate you sharing. You're awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
thank you
Sarah.
for the course and for the work and yeah, everything. And now, speaking of which, I have to run off to another commitment.
Awesome. All right, well, I'll let you go. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye.